understanding Daiyu through her poetry. In the novel Story of the Stone, Lin Dai-yu is one of the most fascinating characters created by Cao Xueqin. She is portrayed as a delicate figure with excessive feelings. In addition, Lin Dai-yu is also an expert of writing poetry. As in the novel, besides Bao Yu and other family members living in the household, her poem is even admired by the imperial concubine Jia Yuanchun. In this podcast, I'm going to look into one of the poems that Cao Xueqin wrote for Lin Dai-yu. I will start with an introduction of the tradition of Chinese poetry. Chinese poetry is indirect and implicit. Scenery gives rise to the emotions expressed by the poets, and poetry captures these emotions. Chinese poets seldom narrate their feelings explicitly, and through poetry, poets hope to find their zhiyin, a person who knows their sounds. By carefully interpreting the embedded meanings and analogies between the lines, a reader could obtain a better understanding of the poet's emotions and even his or her personality. Therefore, through in-depth analysis of a poem, the reader is able to reconstruct a vivid image of the poet. In the novel, besides description and narrations, Cao Xueqin uses poems as another layer of meaning to construct and enrich the characters in his novel. Among various poems written for Lin Dai-yu, the poem on wet crab blossoms during the first meeting of the poetry club best captured the personality of Daiyu. Beside the half-raised blind, the half-closed door, crushed ice for the earth, and white jade for the pot. 3 parts of whiteness from the pear tree stolen, 1 part from plum for scent. Moon maidens stitches them with white silken thread, and virgins tear the new-made flower did spot. Which now, like bashful maids that no word say, lean languid on the breeze at close of day. 半卷相连半卷闷，碾冰为土，玉为盆。偷来离蕊3分白，借得梅花一缕魂。月窟仙人梦搞寐，秋闺怨女是啼痕。娇羞脉脉同谁诉？卷衣西风夜已昏。In this poem, Daiyu sees crab blossom as a noble plant and expresses her appreciation towards the purity of crab blossom. Besides her pure spirit, she is a person who is filled with sorrow and sadness. Without her parents and living deep in Guige, the inner chamber, she cannot find anyone to whom to express her emotions. Specifically, in the first half of the first couplet, Daiyu envisions herself as admiring the beauty of crab blossom through the windows of her room. She is willing to raise the blind of the window and half open the door, in contrast with the traditional image of a young lady's room where all doors and windows are closed completely, so that no man can peek into her boudoir. Daiyu is less restricted by the traditional rules, and moreover, her heart, like the open room, cannot contain and restrict the emotions. But at the same time, the door is only half open and the curtain is only half raised. This implies her inability to freely express her own feelings. Though she is willing to express her own emotions, she decides to retain most of her feelings, since she considers herself as an outsider in the family. As Daiyu says in the chapter 55, during her conversation with Bao Chai, that she is not even a proper member of the family. She is just a refugee with no family of her own, living there as a hanger-on. As an outsider, she has to be always careful about her words and actions, and therefore she has no freedom to show her deep feelings. However, Daiyu finds an outlet for her emotions in writing poems while living her life in Guige, the deep inner chamber. The Chinese character Gui closely associates with inwardness, which has long been associated with the female gender. By the late imperial period, Gui meant the physical space of the women's chambers, a defining social boundary for the roles and place of women. Women in the late imperial period were confined to the inner chamber. This confinement of women originated from the idea of physically and socially separating the sexes. The Book of Rice defines that a boy from the age of 10 would seek instructions from an outside teacher, but a girl from the age of 10 should not go outside. However, as poems by women become more acceptable to the late imperial Chinese society, women found a way to depict their lives in the inner chamber and express their feelings to others. In the last couplets of Daiyu's poem, 娇羞默默同谁诉, which now like bashful maids that no words say, Cao Xueqin used the phrase 同谁诉, meaning to whom I can talk with. And this phrase is also used in one of her poems on chrysanthemum. 醒时幽怨同谁诉, 哀草寒烟无限情. Midst cold and fog and dying leaves I wake, with no one by to tell of my heart's ache. In these two poems, Cao Xueqin intentionally used the phrase 同谁诉 to show Daiyu's desperation of finding nobody to express her deepest emotions. However, through poetry, she expresses both her desperation and her wish to seek a partner with whom she can talk. Through the use of 同谁诉, Cao Xueqin informed the readers that in her society, Daiyu was not able to express her feelings directly to others, including the person she loves. However, poetry provided Daiyu a socially acceptable vehicle to convey her 无限情, the unlimited emotions.